anything goes wrong. I've done my best, and I think this is the best in the circumstances. In 1980, after the elections in December, I had a session with 5 of them. Ong Teng Cheong, Goh Chok Tong, Dhanabalan, Tony Tan, Lim Chee Onn. And I gave them my frank opinion of what I thought of them as leaders. Watching the campaign, how they conducted themselves, how they operated. I rated them as follows. 1, Tony Tan. 2, Goh Chok Tong. 3, Ong Teng Cheong. 4, Lim Chee Onn. I didn't list Dhanabalan because I do not think Singapore is ready for an Indian Prime Minister. And he's realistic enough to know that. But I wanted them to know my view so that they can decide on their views as they appraise one another. And I gave my reasons. I put Tony Tan number 1 because although Goh Chok Tong has got a faster mind, and he has a fast, quick brain, there's a decisive quality about him. He'd listen, take all points of view, and decide. After listening, you can't keep on listening. After listening, you sit down and you listen to your conscience, your judgment, and you say, right, we will do this. And if it's wrong, I will take the responsibility. I told Goh Chok Tong, look, you're trying to please too many people. Even the pressmen, they badger him. He keeps on obliging with answers. I said, just cut them off. Ong Teng Cheong, I consider a first-class chairman. He's equable, he's patient, he listens to all sides, he's very fair, and he's decisive. But he's educated in Chinese, he's not as quick in the English as would be convenient for a Prime Minister operating English in the working language. I'm frank, I'm candid. I tell them what I think. Lim Chee Onn, I rated as number 4 because I told him, look people in the eye. Why do you look down? There must be eye contact. Whether I like you or I don't like you, I look you in the eye. They took it well. But I said, you decide. After the 1984 elections, or even before the 1984 elections, I could see that Tony Tan was opting out. He did not want this job. This is a remarkable team, I tell you. They are not mad after power and glory. They want to do a good job, and they do not want to take on a job which they feel they can't commit themselves to heart and soul. And they are honorable men. So they decided amongst themselves, 1, Goh Chok Tong, 2, Ong Teng Cheong. Lim Chee Onn, meanwhile, had a bit of trouble in the NTUC. I think I want to clear this. He upset certain persons in the NTUC. His style of working created misunderstandings. And of course, they went to see Devon Nair, who was then the president. And Devon investigated and got hold of me, and we went into it. And, well, it was difficult, so let's change. But he's an able man and a good man. So, after this elections, he says, look, I'm in Keppel. He wants to do a good job in Keppel. Call it a day. I called him up twice. I said, look, think it over. How many people have got his ability and his experience? He's been in the cabinet. He's been Secretary General of the NTUC. You throw that away and just look after Keppel? I think that's a crime. Keppel can find somebody else, but Singapore can't find another MP like that, and you want people like that. Because in a crisis, such people matter. What we've tried to do is to get as many good men as possible inside and committed to Singapore. Because it's the only way it can survive. Other countries, there's tradition. Such and such a group always have people in parliament. The trade unions produce their quota. The Labour Party has got certain universities, certain clubs that produce their left-wing radicals. The landed gentry and the city will produce their quota of MPs. And they are there to defend the country, and they're part of the country. Singapore has no such tradition. We are ourselves. We never existed. We are not even a community. We are trying to make this a community. It's an able, honorable lot of people. If you are the Marines, for every campaign that you fought in, you will have a streamer from one part of the flag, at the flag post. So, you have some flags so full of streamers that you can't see the flag. They have fought so many campaigns. This PAP New Guard colour has got only one streamer. It's got Singapore out of a recession, which is something. It shows competence. But it was a solution based, an economic solution based on the political foundations built by the old guard. The NTUC was there in place. The mechanism for getting things done in place. Slowly, gradually, they have to build on their own political foundations. Question is, on their own, a real political crisis, not an economic crisis. An economic crisis is not life and death. A political crisis can mean the end of everything. Have they got enough people with that fire in the belly and iron in the soul? Because when you are under pressure, the world changes. It's like a TV screen. The picture, instead of being clear and crisp, becomes wavy. Under pressure, that's what happens. My original team of 9, under pressure, 6 stood up. I would rate them in this order. Goh Keng Swee, Rajaratnam, very close to each other. Ong Pang Boon. No. Ong Pang Mun, To Chin Chai, Ahmad Ibrahim, Yong Yuk Lin. They did not rattle. Yes, they were nervous. Yes, they know that this is big trouble. But the faculties are working. There's every determination to see the problem through, come what may. If we are skin alive, so be it. A good team requires the leader and at least two others. Under heat, performance is high. I have a lot of time for S. Rajaratnam. Because the more you pressure him, the more you put the heat under him, the more his faculties function. And he hammers away at his typewriter and fires back with gusto. And the communists can give you hell. And he gave them hell back. And it raised the, it's like the band when you're going into battle. Your band collapses, no tune, your soldiers get demoralized. So when your soldiers read a powerful report, their spirits soar. And they go canvassing more, harder, make more speeches. We won. Morale is 3/4 the battle. All I can see, I've not seen the team under crisis. I've seen them under normal conditions. Minor pressures, yes. There was some flack over this rearrest. But the flack was more directed at me, so I was like a lightning rod for them. They took the decision with my concurrence, and I'm happy to take the flag. That's all right. It's water off a duck's back. What I have to do, I will do. That's that, full stop. Let history decide. But my worry is this. I can only see two, I'm sure, who will not melt. And you need at least three. The Prime Minister and two others cannot melt under pressure. The Prime Minister alone is no good because the rest of him are wobbling. The team they go home, they have their cups of tea, they say, no, I think he's wrong, don't you? I think we ought to take the other course of action. Knees wobble, that's the end of it. Whereas after our meeting, 6 chaps go out and they buck everybody up, all the MPs stiffen. MPs get wobbly under pressure. And you got to say, look, that's wrong. We will do this, we will survive, we will succeed. This is the right thing. That's how you get out of a crisis. I take this as a metaphor which you can find useful. Let's say, there are two kinds of kilns. One kiln, you go up to about 500 cc, you bake an earthenware jug or a bowl. The other, you bake stoneware or porcelain, 1000 cc. They have gone through 500 cc. How many will survive 1000 cc? I just cannot know because you can't simulate that. You got actually to go through it. All I can advise you is this is the best available, and you pray and work with them. Remember this. Good ministers are not just those who kiss babies and smile and have dialogue sessions. You can have endless dialogue sessions. It's very good. You keep on listening and so on. It means at the end taking very tough, very unpleasant, very unpopular decisions and still smiling and still explaining. And finally pointing out, see, we are turning the corner. The figures prove it. That's what government is about. You must be prepared to have bones broken and blood spilled. There are sometimes no way out. And you must never forget, you're not cheering a football team, So if the team loses, you go home. You are cheering yourselves. If your team loses, that's kaput for you. If we had lost, you would not be here today. We sit down, we are ourselves, we got reserves, we've got Hawkeye aircraft, we can fire fireworks, we can have a carnival, we've got jobs, we are moving from 3-room flats to 4-room flats. Expressways, tunnels underneath, underground. That is the sunshine after. But there were dark moments. Very dark moments when I could not be sure we would ever get out of that tunnel. One of those periods would be 1964, after the riots, till August 1965. There was no way in which anybody could tell us that we would get out of it. But we knew we had to do what was right, namely stand by what we have agreed in the Constitution. And we did, regardless of cost. And because the people supported us, therefore we succeeded. It just wasn't guts on our part. It was guts on the part of a total population. A total population refused to be cowed. We gave them the courage. We drummed up the music. But the people stiffened their backs. And that's the way it has to be done. You want them to perform, please remember, it's not smiling and kissing babies and patting people on the back all the time. There are times when a very good, firm karate chop is necessary. And deliver it cleanly. Don't have 2 chops where one will do. That's the reason why I have the minimum number of people suffering from karate chops. Thank you. Good night.